North Korean media has announced that dictator Kim Jong-un's uncle, the ousted politician Jang Song-thaek, has been executed. Samsung Electronics has lost its second patent lawsuit filed with a domestic court against Apple. And amid worsening ties between Korea and Japan, politicians in both countries could take a hint from Japanese musicians working in Korea. Hello and welcome to News Today on KBS World. It's Friday, December 13th. I'm Luke Clary. A few short weeks ago, he was considered North Korea's second most powerful man. Now, Jang Song-thaek is dead. Tried at a special military tribunal, Kim Jong-un's once powerful uncle was sentenced to death.
The Korean Central News Agency of North Korea aired breaking news at 6 o'clock this morning to report Jang Song-thaek's execution. North Korea's state news agency said that a special tribunal by the State Security Department was held yesterday and that Chang was sentenced to death according to Article 60 of North Korea's Penal Code. The execution was carried out immediately. Last Sunday, he was fired from all his posts on 4 charges, including having been engaged in anti-party and factional activities, and was expelled from the Workers' Party. His execution came just 4 days after this. The KCNA said Chang committed high treason by undermining the succession of leadership in order to realize his ambition for supreme power. Chang was also found to have placed his affiliates and sycophants inside party departments and that they looked to him as their overlord. This was official confirmation that Chang was conspiring to overthrow the regime. 2 of his top aides have already been shot publicly, and in the wake of the prompt execution of Chang, it's being speculated that more of his close associates will be brought to trial and purged. With the second anniversary of the death of Kim Jong-il only 4 days away, the Kim Jong-un regime is expected to guard against internal unrest by forcing his people to express their loyalty toward the young leader and denounce Chang and his associates.
Seoul and Washington are in the midst of preliminary talks on the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Washington has outlined its preconditions, putting the pressure on Seoul if it wants to join the partnership.
High-ranking officials from Korea and the United States presented their stances on Korea's potential participation in the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Officials from the U.S. Trade Representative welcomed Korea's interest in joining the partnership, but they also outlined several preconditions.
Excessive origin verification requirements by Korea have the potential to undermine a number of the tariff benefits.
Acting Deputy U.S. Trade Representative Wendy Cutler also added that Korea must resolve issues such as a transfer of financial service data, funding for low carbon dioxide vehicles, and the recognition of U.S. organically processed foods. She made it clear that if Korea joins the TPP talks, it will have to discuss issues that were not tackled at the Korea-U.S. FTA talks, such as funding for state-run companies and affiliates.
Broadly speaking, there will be a firm support for Korea's accession to the TPP, participation in the TPP. But we are not there yet.
Seoul says it will consider Washington's requirements because there have been no serious trade issues since the conclusion of their bilateral free trade pact.
The Korea Railroad Corporation, or KORAIL, says a cargo train that derailed on Wednesday had a cracked wheel. Meanwhile, the labor union strike continues and KTX bullet train operations are to be scaled back.
The train compartment is lifted, but its wheel is nowhere to be seen. The wheel was made 14 years ago, became cracked, and had fallen off.
평상시에도 발생할 수 있는 여차 차륜에 대한 노후화에 생긴 그런 사고로 분석을 하고 있고.
Since cargo trains usually carry heavy loads of cement, oil, and containers, pressure on the wheels is that much greater. A study found that putting pressure on the wheel, particularly in winter, can damage it. Therefore, checking for cracks in these areas is crucial. Though employees used to examine the wheels in the past by tapping them, this is no longer the case. Instead, just a visual check is conducted. But with the ongoing rail strike, the government is looking into whether even a visual checkup was carried out. Meanwhile, KORAIL announced that its services, including that of the high-speed KTX, would be reduced beginning next week due to a shortage of labor. Those presently working are taking on more workload and could tire themselves out. The government is bracing for a prolonged strike, as it said the metropolitan subway system might also be scaled down. The state-run rail operator already dismissed around 7,600 workers, including 860 on Thursday alone. But it says if mere participants of the strike return back to work, the discharge will be canceled immediately.
The National Intelligence Service has briefed Parliament on its self-reform plan, which includes a ban on its agents' access to the National Assembly or party offices. The political parties stand divided on the plan.
The key to the National Intelligence Service's self-reform plan reported to Parliament is banning political interference. The NIS says it will prohibit its agents from entering Parliament, party offices, and media firms at any time. All of its employees will pledge to not meddle in politics. A center and committee will also be set up through which employees can reject any orders they may receive that involve political engagement. The NIS says it will also clearly identify the boundary of its psychological warfare activities, which triggered the ongoing electioneering scandal in the first place. It will also prohibit issuing any remarks related to the political parties and their lawmakers. Rival parties are split on the agency's reform plan.
상당히 혁신하려는 노력은 많은 고민이 엿보이는 그런 자체 개혁안이라고 생각합니다.
민주당 입장에서는 자체 개혁안이 대단히 미흡하다 판단을 하고 있습니다.
Regarding the NIS budget, the spy agency's chief Nam Jae-jun said budgetary concerns are even regulated by the Assembly now and that there is no intelligence agency in the world that discloses its budget. He added that existing laws are sufficient in protecting whistleblowers. From the looks of things, political discussion on revamping the spy agency is not off to a smooth start.
A website called the Creative Economy Town launched this September to help people turn their ideas into startups. Soon, the government will start opening real, physical, creative economy towns.
This unusual bike with a 3D screen makes you feel as if you're riding outdoors. This hand grip clip clamped onto milk packs stops the milk from spilling even when it's upside down. All these inventions are from up-and-coming venture firms. Turning ideas into merchandise, starting a business, and creating jobs are the main ideas of the creative economy. The government has decided to set up such real-life creative economy towns across the nation to promote this cause.
이제 온라인을 통한 이런 성공을 오프라인으로 확산하고 대한민국 경제 전반으로 확산시켜 나가야 합니다.
The government is posed to establish such centers in each region using ingenious ideas to come up with new products. It will also provide funding in the form of small amount collective investments to those who submit original ideas.
하나의 새로운 금융의 크라우드 펀딩으로 자기의 소망을 이뤄나갈 수 있고 큰 창업의 꿈을 이뤄낼 수 있는 것입니다.
The government will also set up a task force this year to promote the creative economy in cooperation with the private sector and provide quick support to those that need it.
Samsung Electronics has lost its second patent lawsuit filed with a domestic court against Apple. The court said in its verdict that 2 out of the 3 Samsung patents were not unique.
Last year, Samsung Electronics won its first patent lawsuit filed in Korea against Apple, but it lost a second one. The court has ruled that none of the 3 Samsung's patents were infringed upon. The court added that 2 of the patents even lacked innovation. Samsung claimed that Apple copied its app switcher technology that enables smartphone users to search contact numbers while typing text messages without losing the typed content. Another contentious point is whether Apple infringed upon the technology that enables users to view new text messages that appear on the screen by clicking on them. But the court ruled that any technician can invent such technologies based on the ones that were developed in the 1990s. Samsung switched its legal strategy in a bid to avoid the so-called fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory terms, which call for allowing everyone in the industry to use standard patents. But its claim wasn't recognized. Samsung Electronics expressed its regret over the ruling and said it will use any legal measures to protect its patents.
Budget shortfalls have put education welfare projects at risk of suspension. As a stopgap measure, various cuts allowed those projects to continue this year, but next year looks tight as well.
Parents of physically challenged students gather in front of the Seoul Metropolitan Council, where budget deliberations are being held for the Seoul Metropolitan Office of Education. They are protesting the $950,000 budget cut to open up a special needs school. Other areas for next year also got slashed, including those for honorary retiree teachers, foreign language education, and boosting science and technology education for students. The total budget remains the same even with the cuts because various welfare budgets have increased. The free mandatory schooling for 5-year-olds and under, called the Nuri curriculum, will see an additional $78.9 million. Increases to key education welfare programs such as free school meals and after-school elementary classes total some $130 million. Superintendents are demanding that subsidies for provincial education finance be raised from the current 20% to 25% of inland duties.
교육 재정 수요를 충당하기 위해서는 지방 교육 재정 교부금의 확충이 무엇보다 시급한 사항입니다.
Other educational projects have been revamped so that more finances can be allocated to urgent areas, but there are concerns that this makeshift approach might weaken the overall educational capacity.
Despite the chilled political relations between Korea and Japan, bilateral cultural exchanges are still booming. Politicians of both countries could learn a thing or two from Japanese musicians working in Korea.
Sweet sounds of a ukulele accompany a soulful melody. A Korean singer sings a song from the 1930s. But the ukulele player is Mr. Hachi, who is originally from Japan. He was a guitarist in a popular Japanese band in the 1970s, but has been working in Korea for nearly 20 years after he was captivated by Korean music. He had worked with a number of famous Korean singers, such as the rock band Wild Chrysanthemum, rock singers Kang San-hae and Han Dae-soo. He attributes his close relationships with those musicians to honesty.
한국 친구들은 뭔가 똑바로 속에 있는 걸 보여주는 그런 부분이 제가 마음에 들어가지고.
There are other Japanese musicians performing in Korea. Hasegawa plays a guitar for Jang Gi-ha and the Faces, and 3 Japanese musicians have formed a rock band called Gupchang Jonggol. They were able to blend in because Koreans made an effort to understand these Japanese musicians.
정서가 조금 다른 거는 있어요. 저는 조금 그랬었어요, 처음에는. 그런데 서로 이해를 하다 보니까 이제는 그런 게 없어요.
Perhaps Korean and Japanese politicians can learn from these musicians about how sincerity and honesty can bring people together and understand each other.
As people get older, hearing is one of the first things to go. One of the most critical things you can do for your health as you age is to detect signs of hearing loss early on. Korean society is aging fast. The number of elderly people suffering from poor hearing has soared. 7 out of 10 seniors in the nation who are 70 and older have experienced age-related hearing loss. Most of them think of the condition as a natural part of the aging process. This senior is one of many diagnosed with age-related hearing loss.
언니하고 전화하면은 공공장소에서 소리 질러야 돼. 병원에 한번 가봐. 그러면서 그래서 검사라도 해봐야지. 그러니까 늙었으니까 그렇지. 그냥 그러고 있었는데 이거 한번 해봐야 되겠다.
The condition occurs as hearing nerves and the cochlea age. People who are often exposed to noise are especially vulnerable to early hearing loss.
최근 들어서 이어폰을 끼고 계시는 분들도 많아지고 또한 소음 환경에서 작업하는 분들도 많기 때문에 낮은 연령대에서 소음성 난청이 생기는 분들이 많아지고 있고 소음성 난청이 있는 분들은 노인성 난청이 훨씬 더 빨리 오게 되고요. 소음성 난청에 의한 노인성 난청이 오시는 분들이 많아지고 있는 현실입니다.
Those with age-related hearing loss may have a hard time communicating with others on a daily basis. This can be challenging for both parties. It can also lead to social anxiety and even severe depression. What's more, hearing loss also raises the risk of dementia as it becomes harder to assess what's happening around you. Many people are unaware of their hearing problems. That's why the help and attention families can provide are critical. This senior was able to identify his hearing problems with the help of his son.
3년 전부터 아버지가 말을 잘 못 알아들으시고 가끔씩 이명이 들린다고 해서 걱정되는 마음에 아버지를 모시고 병원을 찾아서 그 전문적인 진료를 받으려고 왔습니다.
Here's how to check if your loved ones suffer from hearing loss.
말, 발목.
People with hearing problems can't distinguish the difference between words that sound similar. They perceive words almost as mumbling and may experience a ringing in their ears, which is also a sign of hearing loss. If someone in your family has these symptoms, they should seek medical help before the condition aggravates further.
초기 난청 증상은 소리는 들리지만 말이 정확하게 구분되지 않는 것입니다. 그래서 말이 똑바로 들리지 않을 때는 최대한 빨리 병원에 내원하셔서 정확한 검사를 통하여서 내 청력 상태를 정확히 진단하는 것이 중요할 것 같습니다.
Keeping tabs on your hearing is key to preventing age-related hearing loss. Avoid loud noise the best you can and speak clearly in a low-pitched voice. When talking to others, the distance between you and your conversation partner should be 70 to 100 centimeters. Catching the early signs of age-related hearing loss and addressing them as soon as possible will help you and your loved ones live life to the fullest. Now we'll take a look at the markets, followed by the world weather. And that's it for this edition of News Today. We'll see you right back here at the same time on Monday. Have a great weekend.